Hello, everyone. Welcome to the BRU Admin Roundtable for Black History Month. Um, I'm Kim Gill, host of Keep It Metal with Kim Gill on YouTube, and I'm also a media director here at the BRU. And then we have our two co-hosts. I would like to let Nicole introduce herself first.
My metal sib, Kim Gill, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This is fellow media associate Nicole Kali from Brew Media, just here rocking with you as fellow admin. Very happy to spend this Black History Month with y'all. This is a really special roundtable we got going on.
Uh-huh. And Ali.
Yeah, I'm Ali Bishop. I'm a musician. I play guitar, and I'm happy to be here for the roundtable.
And what's your band's name?
My band's name. Oh, thank you, Kim. My band's name is Sound Frontier. You can check us out on Instagram at Sound Frontier Music, or you can check me out on Instagram at Ali Bishop Music.
Awesome. So we wanted to make sure to get ourselves together so we could have this discussion during Black History Month because it's so important that we as a media group try to do our part to put Black rock history on on display. So with that in mind, I hope you guys checked out the playlist I put together for the BRU. It's on Spotify right now.
Yes, salute to Kim. Great job on the playlist.
And it was so wonderful putting that playlist together because throughout curating that list, I learned a lot more about the Black contributions to rock music. And it was insightful. I think one of my favorite parts was learning which songs are popular when my parents were born, what was popular when they were growing up, and then what songs were popular when I was born and what songs were popular when I was growing up. So you really got to see that evolution through familial terms. So I love putting that list together. And what I love the most about that list was I was able to collect 100 songs from different artists throughout the decades. So it's a really beautiful list. And it just shows how much we've done as Black people and as a collective.
100 really songs, y'all.
100 songs.
100.
Is 100 songs on this list, and it took me about like 2 hours to put all the songs on the list, but it took me like about a week of research because I noticed that when I was doing my research there was some gaps in it that I had to fill in. So I really had to delve deeper into finding what was filling in the 60s and the 70s, and that was missing. But I noticed that a lot of that music came from the UK and from abroad. So the whole diaspora from America, UK, the West Indies, all of that is covered in that playlist. Also, I made sure to include women and LGBTQ, which is very important because everybody, Black, everyone, women, men, LGBTQ had to be represented because we're all Black and we all made this possible. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure that was heavily represented in the list. Maybe I'll do another one for Women's History Month next month, which we have something special coming out too. We're working on something special for Women's History Month and the International Day of the Girl. So yes, so with that said, on the subject of Black history, I wanted to start off to talk about our history and rock and why it's so important to us. I feel like I'm going to start first because I feel like we forget what our ancestors had went through and how much that contributed to the music we put out today. Mm-hmm. Our roots are heavily tied into most contemporary music today that people don't even understand. Like blues in itself is a major component in most popular music today, and that came from the suffrage of African Americans, what we went through, what our ancestors went through during slavery, and how they were able to still keep the culture connected even though it was stripped from them, and how they used that to survive. So that history and that culture, all of that suffrage is rooted in the music we listen to and consume today. And I think that is very important and it shouldn't be forgotten. And I also wanted to mention something Militia Vox had mentioned in terms of Black rock and making sure Black rock is represented. It's very important that Black media starts to highlight it, because what Black media fails to do and has been failing to do is talk about Black rock contributions. This is why many of us have grown up feeling alienated or ostracized by our own peers and our own family just for our interest in alternative arts. So I feel like as the BRU, what we do is very important here, because not only do we want to give these artists a voice to listen, to speak out on their experiences and for the fans to share their experiences, what we want to do is have them have their music represented and have the culture represented, and also to have the history spoken about, learned, and shared to everyone who's unfamiliar with it, so that we don't have to justify our place in any space or any show or any scene anywhere. We belong here because we created it. You're not supposed to tell us that we're not supposed to be here or question our presence here. So I think we do that very well. So what I want to ask Ali, I want to ask you, what part of Black rock, our history, what part of our history that you feel is important to rock music?
Mm-hmm. Well, see, the problem with the general discussion about rock music is it tends to forget where it kind of started. And so if you don't talk about it, nobody else will. And so I think it's important, as rock has become more diversified over the decades from sort of the R&B roots that it had, that the original root can get lost in that diversity. So it's important that you find a balance so that you respect the diversity, but you acknowledge sort of the root, and you always have to pay homage to wherever it started. Like everybody talks about martial arts right now, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu is the in thing, but when you really do the history, it all comes from China. Right. So if you really sort of understand the history of whatever it is that you're a part of, you always want to go back to the source, because that's where it came from. Without the source, it wouldn't be around. Without Little Richard and without Chuck Berry and Fats Domino and Sister Rosetta Tharpe, there would be no Metallica. There would be no Black Sabbath. There'd be no Beatles. There'd be the whole shebang. So if you really respect wherever it is now, you have to understand where it came from. So it's important to understand our place in rock, even if you don't necessarily acknowledge it now, which is a whole other bag we got to get into. You at least have to acknowledge where it came from. So you know, it's a part of you, whether you know it or not.
Yeah.
I agree. And how about you, Nicole? What part of our history do you think is important to rock music?
Well, I'm an Afrofuturist, so I feel like there's always like key moments in the past, and then like the present and the future that made like
I'm sorry, Nicole. Can you define Afrofuturist? What exactly is that?
Afrofuturism, according to Rashida Phillips, a really awesome Philadelphia Afrofuturist writer artist, is essentially realizing that blackness has no set definitive time era. We were black back then, even though we didn't necessarily call ourselves black. We had different tribal names like Hausa, like Legba, etc. on the continent. But we were doing really futuristic stuff back then that laid the groundwork for the music and the art that we made now. So we were actually making like the roots of rock, as you were talking about, like in the 1500s. I was looking for like the historical timeline from Black Rockers United, and I feel like we were making like string ensembles, percussive ensembles, the kind of stuff that you're hearing now, in
Mm-hmm.
like 1600. That's like
Nice.
100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it like that, Jimi Hendrix already had a head start. Our ancestors already had that groundwork, but it was that middle passage, I think, that really kind of defined.
Right.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So the middle
Awesome.
passage, and then our roots in Africa that like had us express in the first place, and then after slavery as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I also think it's important that you do the root sessions on TikTok for the brew, because you really learn about the evolution of sound connected from Africa to what we listen to today. And I think those are very important, especially when you introduce certain instruments that were made back then, that are still used now, and are still used as essential beats to some of the music we listen to. So, what I want to ask is, do you think that now that we have more representation in the media now, do you think that people will be more receptive to Black rock without questioning it?
Yeah, I think we're finally in that era now.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at how many of us are excited to see each other and how much creative expression and solidarity there is now for the Black
Mm-hmm.
rocker when there
Yeah.
wasn't as much before. Yeah, it's really astounding. I don't know if you know Soju, but they're like a Nigerian-based
Mm-hmm.
creative collective, and they do
Right.
spotlight on like Afro diasporic rockers like anywhere, like Botswana, like
Mm-hmm.
Malawi, like just here, United States, go down the list. It's really amazing to see how many of us there are, and regardless of where we are, it's really empowering. Yeah.
Right. How about you, Ali? How about you, Ali? I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I was checking on some admin stuff. Repeat the question for me, please.
Okay, so I was saying, ah, I think I forgot the question. What was the question again? Because I was
It's
so enthralled in what she said. Okay, so I think I was saying, do you think that now that we have more representation in the media, Black rockers, do you think that people will be more receptive to Black rock as a collective, and will they not question our space in a scene? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think the importance is as long as we can show that representation in the form of an audience, right?
Right.
So I think in the past, the biggest problem was that people didn't think there was an audience for Black rock or Black rock musicians.
That's
Like,
true.
no one's going to listen. No one's going to pay attention to Fishbone. Like, how are
Right.
we going to market this? Who's going to listen to it? There's not enough Black people that are going to listen to it, and white people won't listen to it. So what's the point, right? So that was sort
Mm-hmm.
of the way it was dismissed. But now, with groups like Black Rockers United, the BRU, and other
Mm-hmm.
groups, hopefully it can be shown that there is a definite audience, not just today in 2021, but has been in the past for decades. And once you see that there is a people behind it, then you can't
Mm-hmm.
deny it anymore. You have to acknowledge it. You have to say, okay, it's legit. And, so I guess it's like a voting block. When
Mm-hmm.
you see that there, 400 Democrats 10 years ago, and now there's 4,000.
Right.
Democrats are going to have they're going to have a little bit more leverage, or vice versa, Republicans, independent, whatever. So I think the future is good in that now you're getting to see the audience as opposed to just the artists in a vacuum. So if the
Interesting.
audience is being acknowledged now, it's very hard to sweep an audience under the rug as opposed to a band or two.
Okay, that's a great answer, and I never saw it that way. like based on the audience versus the artist. But that is an interesting point. And Lena also made a point in a comment here. She said there's a discussion about how you can trace rock music from an African perspective, but this frames from the conversation as it's okay to be Black and listen to rock. But what about heavy metal, which is a subgenre of rock, gets pretty much ignored by Black folks? So would you like to answer that, Nicole?
Yeah, I actually would like to answer that because you know, we're both into metal, and like a really big part of the Brew Crew is largely just because like a lot of us, like yourself, you're Caribbean, the percussion and like a lot of the grooves sound exactly the same as like the music back home for you. It's just heavier, you know. So you dig it, you know. If you like rock and you like the more extreme forms of rock, it's probably natural that you gravitate towards metal. But for Black people, because we also have the connotation of the Black church, a lot of us,
Yes, that's
they diverge from each other. So a lot of us, either we feel some shame for listening to heavy metal, or there's like kind of
that's that devil music. What you
narrative
listen to
around.
that devil music for?
you
Yeah,
got
you know,
it.
like
Yeah.
that is and we're gonna talk about it later too, like the reason for Brew. Like Nate literally went through all of that and then had to make this group because people didn't understand that heavy metal wasn't necessarily a satanic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also remember one girl in particular, she messaged me on Facebook or YouTube, and she was asking me, well, I love this band, and the band was Slayer. She said, I want to go to their show so bad because I've never seen them live, but I feel like my parents will be upset with me for going to the show because they feel like the band is satanic and my family is super Christian. So she had an issue struggling between, she felt like she was letting her family down, but she also wanted to do something that she enjoyed. But I think a lot of the times Black people, especially our family and our peers, they seem to believe that the music we consume defines who we are as a person or our personal life, especially when they like accuse us of doing the most ridiculous things, like they'll say you do cocaine because you go to metal shows. I remember a few times I've been asked that question by people who do drugs, because they'll be smoking weed and all of that, but then they'll come to me and they'll ask me if I do cocaine because I go to metal shows. I said no, because that's a personal choice. That has nothing to do with the music I listen to. That's because I listen to metal music doesn't mean I go around doing cocaine or shooting up heroin or anything like that. That says nothing about me. And I don't know anybody who does that. So it's like the stereotypes that comes along with it. It's like you're also dealing with being a Black person outside of the shows. You're dealing with this at home. It's like it's so much that is so overwhelming. Like, do we have the agency to enjoy anything, or do we have the agency to like release our anger in a positive manner? This is like one of the struggles I think metal has deal with a lot, especially when you're Black. You got to deal with the racism in the scene. You got to deal with the racism outside. You got to deal with the judgment in your home or in your school or your workspace. Just because you do things differently, you enjoy different things, and I think is ridiculous. So I think that as a medium, we have a responsibility to kind of destigmatize those things, which is very important because I don't think anybody understands the unique struggle of being a Black rocker. So,
Well said. So let me ask you a question to the two other admins here. What about changing the identity? Does heavy metal, since we're talking about heavy metal, will heavy metal allow for a person to be in the space and be a metalhead, but be Black, but bring a Black perspective to it? So it's one thing for Black people to feel a certain way about other Black people who are metalheads, right? But what if we go from another perspective? Is it possible to bring another identity to heavy metal, which is a more Afrocentric, a more what I'm about? Or do you have to sort of conform and sort of be a more white kind of bred Eurocentric. I don't know the right word for it. I don't know. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I think I understand where you're coming from.
Because a lot of black people feel like, well, if you do heavy metal, you got to be white, because all they see is white people doing it a certain way, a certain language, a certain dance, a certain dress. But is it possible to be literally to maintain your blackness in a heavy metal space? There we go. That's the question.
I think it is possible because that's what I do every day, all day, every day. And I don't care what nobody say about it. My blackness is you're going to know I'm black, because not just by looking at me and seeing me, you're going to know I'm black.
Right.
And that's what I'm going to do every day, all day, every day. But I do think there's an issue when there are black rockers who do enter scenes and then they want to perform out of a means of survival. They feel like they will be alienating some of their peers because they want to stand up for their blackness. And that is ridiculous to me. Like, you don't have to be a doormat or a token to be respected as a black person in metal. But oftentimes you see a lot of people do that. And it's bad, especially when they're like one of the notable people in metal and they have so much power and influence. Like, who is standing up for us at the top when the people at the top think the same as the people at the top who are trying to like come down on us or question us? Or, that's why I like Guitar Gabby. I love her and what she's doing in the industry. She is putting her blackness up front, but she is also championing for diversity, and she's also championing for diversity of thought when she does with her work. Like, trying to get black women and black creators into spaces and sectors where they didn't have the opportunity to do so a few years ago. I love what she is doing, and that is very important because it's showing you guys, it's showing the industry that it's okay to be black and to enjoy alternative art and to enter spaces that you thought were uncharted for black people, even though we created this shit. So what she's doing is a big service to all of us, especially black women. She's doing a huge service to all of us. And I think we need more people like Guitar Gabby at the top. We need more Guitar Gabbies at the top and less Tommy Vexes. And that's my comment, and that's my opinion, not reflective on the BRU, but that's my personal opinion. And I think that when black people, especially the younger cats now, because they're coming into a new era where everything is more socially acceptable and blackness is you see black people openly fighting for their human rights. It's not like it's any different from what our ancestors or our grandparents did, but we're doing it in this day and in this age, and people are agreeing with us, basically. So they're going to feel more comfortable to stand up for themselves now than they did like 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I think that what people like Guitar Gabby is doing is a service to all of us. And that's why I feel like this is also an important platform for us, the BRU. We have so many things we hold on our shoulders as a black medium that is trying to be pro-black and trying to create a space for black creatives and alternative arts and black fans. So I think that is important.
Cool. I agree.
All right. So, and speaking of the history of black rock, we just want to like segue into that too. How do you think the history of black rock has impacted rock music as a whole? I'm going to start with Nicole.
Oh, it's inseparable. These over in like the Bay Area, like a black hotel manager, I'm pretty sure, like started half of like the thrash scene, from what I understand. Like, he gave them like a free spot to play at. He gave them names. He gave Metallica their name.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I bet y'all didn't out there either.
I didn't know that, and I'm happy I know that.
you know, like event manager over in like the San Francisco Bay, started what you
Wow,
now
I
know
just
as the
learned
Bay
something
Trash
then.
Team because he gave them a place to play for free. He saw their
Mhm.
talent and he fostered it. I think that
Oh, man.
moments like that, and then like Big Mama Thornton, I think a black entrepreneur saw her and was like, "Yo, I want you to perform for me." After he saw her in Houston, like moments like
Sweet.
that just like completely blow
Mhm.
my mind because that's Black rock history, but it's the
Mhm.
lesser known, you know. But moments
Mhm.
like that are like, damn, the pioneers wouldn't have had their start if not for that, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Not
it's
even at the
impactful for
megastars, the
yeah,
megastars too.
impactful for other stars
Um,
too because it's a whole network of musicians
Mhm.
that thrive off of each other. Absolutely.
Mhm. How about you, Ali?
uh, yeah, I mean the history again. Rock is so big, right? There's like a gajillion different genres underneath it now, but it's a tree, right? So many
Mhm.
branches in the tree, it all comes back to the same root. You know, it has the same stem, so to speak. So people don't see that connection, and so I think it's important again to, even if you don't consider yourself a black rocker, even if you're not a black rocker, it's important to understand the history of black rock because again, that's where everything came from, and that's what
Mhm.
started everything. The ball started rolling in our court. So uh, the history of black rock is the history of rock. It's also the history of jazz. It's the history of the blues. It's the
Mhm.
history of reggae and what is now dub step and all that stuff, right? Like
Yes.
it's always the same. It always seems to be the same story,
Yes. Absolutely.
you know. So it's important to understand it in those contexts, and then, you know, there's so much to even get. Even when you just start digging, you know, when you start digging in the crates, you know, you realize how revolutionary those people were
Oh,
to
yeah.
start from zero. You know what I mean?
Right.
Start from zero. Like it's easy for us now because we have so many colors on the palette to
Yeah.
Mhm.
paint the picture. But back then
Mhm.
they had like two colors and like a paintbrush, and what they did with it was phenomenal. So you
Mhm.
always want to give back and acknowledge because that's also how once you tap into that, it makes it easier to create. Speaking as an artist, you know,
Mhm.
once you really try to absorb all those revolutionary people, that creativity kind of rubs off on you a little bit. It makes it easier to
Mhm.
create that way. So it's very important.
And then we also have to factor in the fact that they started off during Jim Crow. So they had to be in segregated spaces. They created this music in their own
How
backyard.
crazy
And
is
then
that,
when the
right?
music became popular,
You have to
yes,
sneak
and then
off to
when
do it.
right. And then when the music became popular, they had to fight for where they could play,
Yep.
who could air their music. And
Yep.
then they also had to do the Chitlin circuit because they were
Yeah.
not allowed to play in white venues. So I think the
Exactly.
Chitlin circuit is very important as well. Some people who, so those not familiar with the Chitlin circuit, is basically venues that musicians could perform at, particularly black musicians, and in each venue they serve chitlins. But
Talented.
it's a lot of artists that survived musically and their careers expanded because they performed on the Chitlin circuit. So
Yeah.
I think Bob Marley was one of them, and I also think Jimi Hendrix too at one point was on
All
the
of them.
Chitlin circuit. All of them. So
Because
a lot of
look,
black
Kim,
rockers came from that lineage. So nowadays we got to think about the black rockers today who are so blessed that they can perform anywhere, play anywhere, and they
yeah,
can have their music played anywhere because
yeah,
they were fighting two different markets back then.
yeah,
So, and people like Frankie Lyman who had to integrate audiences, and Little Richard who was
yeah,
like good enough to perform in front of white people but not good enough to sit and eat with them. Like,
yeah.
this is their history, this is our history. So we came a very long way from that. And I
Mhm.
think in terms of our history and rock music too, we cannot negate the West Indian influence on rock music, especially with reggae. If reggae didn't become a thing, we wouldn't have hip hop today. because there's the history of
It all
hip-hop
started from a sound
ties
system.
into reggae.
It's all the
It
sound
ties into
system.
reggae. Yes, and Cool Herc.
Yep.
People don't realize the history of hip hop music ties into the origins of reggae and how reggae music came about, but also the reggae culture and the West Indian culture gave us the terms mosh. That moshe, y'all would not have that if it wasn't for West Indians, because everybody in the West Indian household is familiar with the term mosh because we say it all the time. We use it and it means to destroy, and it's mash, mash, but the way we pronounce it with the West Indian dialect, it is, oh, who said thank you for tuning in? Oh, okay. The West Indian dialect, it is mosh, mosh. That's how it sounds. That's how we enunciate it. You gotta mash up my car, you want to pay for my car, you know. That's how we use it. But I feel like West Indian influence had a huge impact on extreme music culture.
Yep.
And no one talks about that. Bad Brains was very influential in a lot of things they did that they don't get a lot of credit for. But I feel like it's funny how people try to exclude Black people from the extreme music culture when most of the stuff they do is influenced by us and created by us.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I need to find another adjective than ridiculous, but maybe asinine. But I just find it so incredible how much we as a diaspora contributed to Black rock.
Right.
And throughout the decades.
Right.
So another question I want to ask is, why is it important to acknowledge this history? I'm gonna start with Ali.
Mm-hmm. Well, for the simple fact that if you don't acknowledge it, they won't. So, like for instance, if you don't understand how certain terminologies, right, like mosh and mosh pit, where that came from, you don't understand things like how Metallica got a start, or even a name, or all of these things. If once you understand that, you understand that you have a right to be in the space.
Right.
So you go, oh yeah, I had a part in that. So I deserve to be here. I can be in the mosh pit right now because guess what? Like I did that. You know, my people did that too. So it gives you membership. It gives you the membership to go into the club, whether it's the heavy metal club, whether it's the punk club, whether it's the, you know, whatever, the rock club. It serves as your membership card, and it is a platinum card, right? Can nobody take that from you or invalidate it? But if you don't know that, then when someone says, "Well, why are you here?" You know, or do you really like the band? Do you
listen to the band?
How many songs can you name? And they start trying to do all that. That's because they don't even know where it came from in that respect. And so if you have that dialogue and you make sure that they know, then this is how it allows for, you know, the truth to come out, and allows for us as Black rockers to have a seat at a table that we built. So that's why it's important. If you don't say all of that, it won't get said, because it's not on somebody else to say it. We have to say it. We got to teach the people coming behind us so that they know coming in, and we have to salute and pay tribute to the people that bled before us to do that. So that's why it's important to kind of keep everything together.
And Nicole?
Yeah, revisionism is the key issue for why Black rock history was forgotten, and then very recently resurfaced. And then even when it resurfaced, it was because we did the research and white people didn't.
Yes, that's it. That's a very interesting point.
Went and found that research. We wanted to
very
see
interesting point.
So we went and found it, you know, and seek and you shall find, which is why this exists in the first place. But yeah, it's really astounding how much the roots are kind of discarded conveniently so that other people can be the face of it. And then it's just like, well, then if you're going to do that, then how come when we try to make ourselves the face of stuff, then all of a sudden it's a problem?
Right. That's very true. Yes, I feel like any type of Black history, people try to rewrite it so that it could benefit non-Black people. And that is so irritating. It really is, because it shifts the narrative. It takes away the credit. It doesn't give credit where it's due. And then, like, for example, I recently found out that there was a Black woman who founded grunge music. I did not know about that. When we think about grunge music, we think about Nirvana, Alice in Chains, and Soundgarden. But there was a Black woman who started that whole scene and genre in Seattle before all of them. And we're just learning about her this year. Yeah. I forgot what her name was. Tina Bell. Yes, people, like, this is the thing. We could learn a lot about the scene from her and how it was created, how the sound came about, because she created the shit. And then another thing I learned about Black history, RuPaul was in a punk band in the 80s. RuPaul the drag queen.
I bet.
He was. Did you know about that?
He was he was the fourth New York City doll. No, I made that up, but it sounds good. It sounds weird. I figured that'd be applicable for right now.
Right.
He was
so
it's a lot of things. Doll.
Yes. New York City doll. Yes, he was a part of that, and then he went on to be. I think he went on to be a club kid. I don't know if he was one of the club kids, but I think those scenes were like cousin scenes. Like the New York club kids were like a huge hub for LGBTQ kids that like to go to parties, and they like to dress up in extravagant costumes. And I think that one was also taken from the ballroom scene, which was created by Black LGBTQ to house people, LGBTQ people who were left out and abandoned by their own families. So they created their own families. They would do dances and stuff. This is how all of this stuff is connected. Yes. Yes.
Where did disco come from?
Disco. I don't even know the origins, but I think that was Black LGBTQ too.
Damn
right?
sure was.
Right.
It wasn't John Travolta.
Yeah. It was like Uptown Harlem and like the
started with the. I apologize. I'm not up on vernacular, but I'm going to say ignorantly. It started in the queer Black community of the 70s, the early 70s. Yeah. It was an underground lifestyle party scene that got big, and then made enough of a wave to where people in the mainstream saw it and said, "Hey, we're going to do this movie about it." Saturday Night Fever, and then it becomes Alan Freed, the sequel. So, you know, but you wouldn't realize that. You would think disco, you think a particular identity, a particular thing. But disco, since you mentioned in LGBTQ.
Yes.
I apologize. I'm sorry for the ignorance again on that. But contributions, they're come in all forms. All of us, we all make contributions, you know, across gender, across nationality, ethnicities, all Black people of all forms. We're just really creative. You know what I mean? We're really godly people. We got that in us. And so it always seems to leak out whether we want to or not from all of us. So it's important to acknowledge that too in terms of Black history. Sorry. Back to you.
No, it's okay. No. I'm glad you said that, because I didn't know that about disco, and that's why I feel like it is very important that we talk about these things, because a lot of people just feel alienated and left out, and this is our purpose as a medium, the BRU. This is Black Rockers United, and this is why we have these conversations, because it takes us into deeper conversations about our history and contributions to music. Because a lot of people feel like we don't belong, or we're not supposed to enjoy these things, and we're not allowed to enjoy these things, or we're wrong for enjoying these things. But no, we're not. We created this shit. Anyway, so that brings me to the next question. What is the reason for the BRU? Why do you think it's important for us to have this platform to speak to people? And what impact do you think we can have on the music journalism as well as the culture.
Who wants to take that one? Kim, who are you giving the mic to?
Oh, you okay. You want me to start?
Whoever, yeah, you in charge today, girl. You do what you want.
So I guess I'll start. I just like I said before, I feel like this medium was started because someone felt alienated by their own family and peers, and they experienced racism in the scene. Especially this person lives in a red state. That's Nate. And he lives in Texas right now. Shout out to Texas for everything they're going through. Fuck Ted Cruz.
Definitely. It's just a round table.
I said, fuck Ted Cruz, because that shit was wrong what he did, and his family's still out there vacationing. Anyway, so I have a lot of loved ones in Texas right now going through it. So shout out to Nate. But thank you for creating this platform for us to speak right now, because if it wasn't for him wanting to cultivate this space, we wouldn't have this platform right now. And I remember Nate from MySpace days. So this is like a whole full circle. MySpace. I remember it was MySpace, and it was my best friend's video that inspired him to make this video, because we were all in sync about the same thing, about why people are asking us why we enjoy this music and why we enjoy alternative arts. You know, we deserve to enjoy whatever we want peacefully. We should have the agency to express ourselves differently and creatively. So I feel like as the BRU, especially now when we enter race relations and race issues into it more deeply, I think it's very important that we have a space where we are heard and not silenced and not questioned, or have our experiences debated by people who are not Black. So we are doing a very great service to people right now, just having this platform open for everyone, and just to like kick back and relax. Not everything is all serious, but just to kick back and relax and talk about our joys, and probably laugh about, hey, I was at a cookout and someone asked me why I was Gothic, blah blah blah. We could laugh about little things like that. And then also to talk about like things like finding a partner, or raising your kids on metal music or whatever. Some people have those discussions at other groups, but that's the place for us here, because we have a unique experience, we have a unique history, and there's not many people that can relate to that. So I think we do a great job at talking about these things in the group. So yeah. How about you, Ali?
Well, as we've been saying, I think the theme for the roundtable is understanding the history of where you come and why it's important to make sure you reiterate the history. It's important for us to talk about it. We're not complaining. It's not us just whining about stuff. It is making sure that the contributions and the sacrifices that were made are acknowledged, and making sure that those coming behind us have something to work off of. Because yeah, you could pass around the cassettes back in the day. Yeah, you had your message boards. You had some
mailing lists.
You had mailing lists, right? You had all the publications, right? But there was never anything like you have now, where you could literally come on social media at any point in the day, interact with up to 4,000 people, as in the BRU, and kind of feel connected across all of those planes and levels. So that's sort of what I think the BRU serves as. It's literally like a house, right? That has been built for Black rockers. Come ye, you're tired and weary. Give us your tired and huddled masses. Whatever, right? However that quote goes. That's kind of what we are. And so come. Not only are you going to feel comfortable, not only are you not going to be judged, but you're going to find that there are other people just like you. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. Reason for the BRU is that we're trying to make sure that that one BRU cat right now who's watching knows that you're not by yourself. You got not just one or two other people, but you got a flock of BRU Black rockers loving what you love, and you have a right to do it. And our job is just trying to connect everybody. So that's what these roundtables are for. The roundtable is the chance, so you get to talk to the admins. What other group do you get a chance to really talk to the admins? You get to come in and leave a comment, and we get to talk to you, and you get to talk to us. That's important. Where else are you getting the BRU talks? Where you're getting one-on-one interviews. You're finding out specifically about artists that have made contributions, new artists that are coming up. You get to find out about them and their story, and you get to see how it might relate to yours. Where else? Who else has a BRU talk? Exactly. Right? You got BRU Spotlights, which is putting up all of the sort of elders and ancestors that made accomplishments. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Little Richard, Frankie Lyman's in there. Tina Turner's in there. What is it with Tina's, by the way? You got Tina Turner. You got Tina Bell. Yeah, Tina's working hard. I don't know what it is.
Tina knows.
Shout outs to the Tinas.
Tina knows.
But everybody, just check out the BRU Spotlight. So that's the reason for the BRU. We are a source. So come to the BRU. Explore. Don't just leave comments. We love when you do, by the way. And thank you for everybody that's been commenting, say, in the last 4 weeks. The admins, we have noticed the uptick. We have noticed people being more proactive, putting out their posts, contributing their thoughts, whether it's an article, whether it's an opinion. Everybody so far has been very respectful, which we want to thank. I know sometimes we're sticklers about certain things, particularly politics. We try to keep that out of the BRU because that opens the door. That's a Pandora's box. And then pretty soon, we don't want the BRU to turn into one side versus the other. And then one side telling us, the admins, to get rid of the other side, right? That's how we sort of divide and get destroyed. So we try to keep the politics out of here as much as we can and deal with the politics that we have to deal with. But there's some chatter in the chats I noticed about they don't let you talk about your political and that blah, 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 blah. It's not that we are trying to suppress or oppress, but we're just trying to keep things at a certain level and a certain pace. Because the whole point of this thing is family. The whole point of this thing is kind of love. If I can be the Black hippie, I'll be proud to do so. But we want that to be what the BRU is about. This is a place for you and your friends to come and find out about the thousands, the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands of Black rockers that are out there that are thinking just like you. Whether you're an 18-year-old or whether you're a 68-year-old, this is the place for you. And this is why it's here. This is why the BRU exists. So I find that there's a big reason for it. And we're trying our best to make it work. So thank you for rolling with us. And we're going to move on to bigger and better things.
And how about you, Nicole?
No, absolutely. And to piggyback off of the political comment, I'm just gonna say as a radical activist, a lot of that's gonna have to be relevant political dialogue.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you want it to stick around, it's gonna actually have to be relevant to BRU and the current political spectrum and what's going on. It has to be solution oriented and artistically solution oriented, if that makes sense. Then we can have a larger discussion of well, if we're going to have more political power in the music industry, how do we do that? If we're going to have more of a presence in terms of I guess representation, what does that look like? Because I'm down for that conversation, that's always been something that really gets me going. And in terms of what really empowers me is just seeing y'all all the time, seeing you talk to each other, seeing that intergenerational dialogue that Ali was talking about.
Right.
Seeing to however old people are in BRU, we're not trying to date nobody, but it seems like there's a huge community of people of all ages and all types. And I'm just really proud of that, But let's make sure that we push forward and really keep it, I think, essentially Black and empowering at the same time.
Awesome. I agree with both of you, and that is why we're here. We want everybody to feel welcome. We are the cookout away from the cookout.
That's right.
So Yeah. We got the mac and cheese potato
we
salad.
got chicken too.
We got all of that.
Too.
Yes, collard greens.
Collard greens and sweet
Whether
potatoes.
you like ham or turkey, we got that. Yeah, so someone wrote a comment. They said, we're the one group that has contributed so much that we shouldn't be relegated to a month. That's why I don't acknowledge or celebrate Black History Month.
That's Kamani, by the way. Shout outs to Kamani.
I knew that was him.
That sounds like him. That sounds like him. So yeah, so there's some people who feel like they don't want to be pigeonholed. So
yeah, I understand that.
We understand that. I mean, that makes sense too. So if that's your thing, that's your thing.
Yeah, but also Black history is global too, because I know in London they have Black History Month in October.
Yeah.
So I know about that, and I could talk about Benji from Skin Dread and how much he contributed to that scene he helped create over there. So yeah. So Black history is global, and yes, we shouldn't keep Black history in February. We should always talk about Black history because there's so much that we contributed. And I understand his point. And what I do like about Black History Month is now we're learning about more figures beyond the activists. We're learning about people nowadays who are contributing to Black history, especially when we have so many firsts. Still, we still have people integrating things in 2020. So yes, so I think it's important to continue talking about it. So yes, I understand what he's saying. So I wanted to open the floor to anyone who had questions. If you have questions, let us know.
Yeah, tune in.
This was a great discussion.
Also, just real quick, so we kind of mentioned it informally, but I just want to say again, we have two admins who aren't here. Nate, our founder, can't be here because he's dealing with all that chaos down there in Texas. So again, we just want to pass our best wishes to everybody who's being affected by that whole weather situation. So sorry you couldn't be here, Nate, but I'm sure we'll get you in here for the next one. And Dallas, I know you out there in Cali dealing with whatever you're dealing with. So we just want to say that we love you and we support you too. And we're looking forward to you coming back as an admin for the BRU as well. So shout outs to BRU admins who are in absentia right now. Also, if I may, Kim, I just kind of also want to give a quick preview to all you BRU members out there. We're working on merch. It's going to be coming relatively soon, so hang tight. We're going to be doing all that good stuff, T-shirts and everything else. So get ready. There are going to be some plans that we have to go to the next level with this whole BRU thing. We've got a great team, and we got a lot of stuff. So tell your people. I know you know one or two other Black rockers out there. There's like 3 or 4 y'all in wherever you are. So just be like, yo, I found something. Check this out. Word of mouth. Spread the word. Spread the gospel. We're here for all of y'all. Let's make it happen.
Also, I guess I want to ask one more question. Who is an iconic Black rocker that you admire?
Who? Nicole.
I guess I'm gonna start with Nicole.
That's a really good question. I feel like for a while it was Jimi Hendrix, just because he was the one that really put me on the path to like see us in like such a masterful way on guitar. But now it's Tina Bell. Yeah, because like for how much she made the foundations of grunge, and that's like one of my favorite genres. I didn't know about her until now, so like now she is probably the most iconic.
Sister Bell, wherever you are, join us. Come to the BRU.
Tina's unfortunately passed. I wish she was still here.
Oh, she passed. Oh,
yeah. That's actually like why I think why the legacy kind of like went away for a while.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like it kind of died with her, and then like have to kind of get revisioned.
Okay, we got to do something for her then.
Yeah.
We got to figure it out. We'll talk admin. We got to do something. We got to do something then. Yeah.
How about you, Ali?
I'm gonna say Burt Bacharach.
Okay. And why?
Most people don't know this, but he was actually an octoroon.
A what?
He was an octoroon. His great-great-grandmother was from Trinidad.
Oh.
That I forgot.
And I'm also making every bit of this up.
You're making all this up?
Yeah, I don't know if Burt Bacharach was
That's what I was about to say. Like, I don't know.
a mulatto or not, but I figured I'd just throw everybody a loop real quick. But back to seriousness. Obviously, it'd be Hendrix, it'd be Jimmy. Just musically more than anything, just sort of opening my head up to other things and other ideas. I started off rapping. I started off as an MC. So, you know, when you see a whole other world open up, a whole new world of colors, I have to say Jimmy if I had to pick one. But I think Sister Rosetta needs to be
acknowledged.
Oh, she's right. She's right next to Jimmy as far as I'm concerned. I can't think of nobody that was doing it heavier than her during her time, to be honest. And you could say it was gospel, but she had the SG going.
And the growls.
She's playing that. She's playing it too. She's not just
the vibrato. The vibrato.
Yeah,
she really introduced that vibrato that we hear in rock music.
Yeah, so you know,
yeah,
very much like Fannie Lou Hamer and a lot of black women that really don't get their just credit for the civil rights movement. A lot of that was done on the shoulders of strong black women, much like this group right here. I think it's important that we have to give credit where credit is due. So the easy answer is always going to be kind of Jimmy, Fishbone, Bad Brains. You know, the big ones that we sort of talk about, but we have to also make sure that we're including properly people like, you know, Tina Bell, Tina Turner, Sister Rosetta, and everybody else that you're going to see in the BRU spotlight that I'm not mentioning, but should be. I think it's important. So that's the long answer. Short answer is Jimmy.
I think for me, I would say Tina Turner because her ability to adapt and survive several decades of music without letting white artists steal her craft or to like co-opt it in a way. She was able to survive decades of musical changes without being co-opted. So yeah, she had that ability to adapt, and her performances were like electrifying. Like she just had a stage presence that was like thrilling, you know. Yep. I love it. Like even her bio, even though we all seen What's Love Got to Do with It, but I don't think people understand the depth of what they had to go through, because in that movie they don't really talk about how they dealt with the industry as black musicians. They focus more on the relationship between Ike and Tina and the domestic violence, but they don't really go in deep about them being black artists, which I wish they would have highlighted more. Because they really did go through a lot that they had to adapt to. And I guess like it was one scene where she commented on his music being too old style and he got offended and then he hit her. So she was giving him advice on how to make the music better, because I guess he felt like people weren't buying the records. So she said maybe we should change up the style so we could like be in like the loop where everyone else, so we could stay afloat. So she knew how to adapt. I think there were things that they both learned from each other as musicians that can be talked about rather than their turbulent relationship. So yeah.
Also, we got a quick comment. Robert Johnson. I'm pretty sure this is Kamani because this sounds like Kamani too. Robert Johnson is the true king of rock and roll. So I do want to acknowledge Robert Johnson, acknowledge the blues. That's where everything came out of. That's Big Mama for sure. I'm I'm gonna have to go with Charlie Patton myself. If we're going there, but definitely Robert Johnson, pure legend and icon. So salute to Robert Johnson. But real quick too, since we're talking about Black history and music, I want to bring up a name and kind of get your thoughts on it, and then I'll ask another follow-up question. I'll try to make this quick because I know we're getting close to the wrap-up. But
it's all good.
Some people claim that this particular musician or artist was like history's first rock star. He was born, I believe, in the city of Bonn. Came about in Vienna, which was the musical capital of the world at that point, in the late 18th, early 19th century. His last name stands for the Beat Garden.
Wagner?
They called him the Spaniard or Das Spagnol. He was claimed to have a ruddy complexion with a broad nose and a wild mane of hair on his head. And he is commonly referred to as one of the greatest composers of our time. His name is Ludwig van Beethoven.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I was thinking Beethoven.
So I wanted to throw that at you because there is a sentiment going around, a strong sentiment that Beethoven was indeed Black.
He was.
And so
we claim him anyway.
If that is the case,
we claim him right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, Black history, this thing goes way deeper. And so the question I wanted to ask you was, we can't tell per se, although we have pieces of his hair, and they have said that there's certain information that they were able to pull out of his hair genetically that they are withholding, that they don't want to release at this time. I don't know what that means, but I'm just saying the only images we have of Van Beethoven is the pictures that you see.
Mm-hmm.
Who made those pictures?
Yeah, and why his hair look like that?
Right.
Especially when he white. He's supposed to be white.
So
this look like him. They said this him. He look black to me. He look like Frederick Douglass.
He could be a DeBarge.
Yeah, a DeBarge.
He could be a DeBarge. So my question is, how important is it for the image? Because now we're dealing with that. Imagine if there were no images of Jimi Hendrix.
Right. Oh, child.
What do you think would happen 100 years from now when they talk about Hendrix? What would be the portrait of Hendrix if there were no pictures?
Jesus.
What would he look like? Would he look like Jimmy, or would he look like something else?
He looked like Jesus.
So, you know.
And it's interesting because they have a lot of illustrations of Beethoven, and he looks Black in these depictions. So I guess because sometimes what artists would do back then, they would try to lighten the features on anybody that was racially ambiguous, that looked more Black, and try to soften those features. So I do believe he was Black.
One of his instructors, someone who was revolutionary with the trill on the piano that he learned from, another Black composer, another Black legend, a Black LGBT member, Black homosexual, last name Haydn. Joseph, I believe, Haydn, who taught Beethoven himself. Another Black person. They called him the Blackamoor. Yeah. Light-skinned, mulatto, taught Beethoven. Gay. Black history. People don't think about that stuff because we don't see any pictures of them.
And they get mad at us for even bringing it up.
Video footage, right? I think George Bridgetower is a violinist who wrote or who was working with Beethoven at the time. I'm probably killing this name. George Bridgetower, I believe his name was, whose family, I believe, was from the Caribbean, was born in Russia and became a virtuoso violinist. Got to be good friends with Van Beethoven. Real close. Beethoven wrote a sonata, I believe it's a sonata, for those two to play at a live event. Beethoven apparently was notorious for not getting copies of the music to his musicians in time. He was always late. So for this particular event, Bridgetower didn't get the manuscript. So when they're playing at the hall, Beethoven's playing on the piano and Bridgetower is literally playing, looking over Beethoven's shoulder at the notes. There comes a section that I guess Beethoven had just written or edited, and he plays some sort of double octave, some crazy thing. Bridgetower answers and does the same thing on the violin. Beethoven stops playing, jumps up, and literally says, "Yes, yes," runs over, embraces Bridgetower, goes back and starts to play. Right? Two black men. Never really talked about. That sonata, afterwards, Bridgetower apparently made an off-color comment about a woman that Beethoven had in high esteem, pissed Beethoven off, as many things did, and Beethoven stopped talking to Bridgetower, cut him off. What he did was he then took Bridgetower's name off of the sonata.
Oh, damn.
And put the name Kreutzer on the sonata. So the sonata you know as the Kreutzer was the name of an Italian violinist who he replaced Bridgetower's name with.
Wow.
An Italian violinist who claimed the sonata couldn't be played on violin because he couldn't do it.
Because he couldn't do it.
The Kreutzer, a replacement, gone down in history as one of the best sonatas in the history of the world.
I gotta listen to the sonata.
Originally written for, by, and with two black men.
I think that black people in general, we just had the je ne sais quoi when it comes to playing music. Like, we can hear rhythm like nobody else can. Like, we can hear, feel, move with rhythm that nobody else can like master. So I do believe they were black. Yeah.
Shout out to Barbara Lynn. Sorry, that's the name I wanted to throw out as well, just as a black guitarist. Y'all need to know who Barbara Lynn is. She's awesome. That's like Rosetta Tharpe level. Sorry.
Right.
Sorry, Kim.
No, it's okay. I was just saying, like, I feel like black people in general, we just had the je ne sais quoi that is unmatched and can't be duplicated. So we're known for like being like doing improv with certain things, especially when it comes to dance moves or playing music or creating beats. We just do things like that. And it can't be matched. So that's why I feel like when people, like when white people try to dictate how music should be played, however, they can't understand beats we be making with our hands that be so in tune and on rhythm, like they can't duplicate it. So I feel like a lot of music is white centric in a way, where they try to dictate, well, this is not how you play music, this is how you play music, but then we could just make little beats and sounds and melodies off the bat without any type of classical training. And it could be a hit and we just understand it, but that cannot be duplicated by anybody else. So I do believe that these were two black men that did that, because I don't think anybody else could have done that.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It's you may say, you know, what does it have to do with black history and black music? I just find it important to
include
everything, because when you talk about the impact of history, that's what happens when you don't talk about it.
It gets lost, and no one else
gets painted with another brush. You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually trying to dig up some things real quick. So I'm going to stall for about 2 minutes. There's a particular photo that I love of Beethoven. So I'm going to kind of go off for about 90 seconds. I'll still be on it. I'm trying to dig it up, so I apologize. But if I can find it, I think it'll sort of prove a point. So,
right. You said what's the name of that sonata? The Kreutzer Sonata?
Kreutzer. I don't know how to spell it. It's like a crazy name. It begins with a K. Kreu. There's a Z in there somewhere. TER or TZER or something.
I see it. The Kreutzer Sonata.
Yeah.
And they should have what it sounds like. Ooh.
Okay, I think I found the picture. I'm gonna try to see if I can pull this picture up now. Hold up 1 second. And let's see if I can do this.
And shout out to the 100 artists on the playlist, because you guys are contributing to Black Rock history too. So yeah,
definitely. Okay, all right. So I got a picture. I'm gonna do a share. I hope this works. Where is it? Okay. This is the picture that you usually see, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the picture you usually see. There's another picture of this one. This one apparently is a little more accurate, and it's taken off of a drawing that Beethoven would use when he had his own, like, I guess, stationery or whatever, or used for his promo pictures or whatever. It was a drawing that looked a lot like this. This is a younger Beethoven.
It's right? His Facebook profile picture.
Right? So
let me see.
He looks kind of like Huey Newton, just light skinned.
You see how it's going? You see where I'm going? You see where I'm going with this?
I see it too. Wait, you got the whole picture? You can blow up?
I could, but I'm gonna have to do some more work on that. But I wanted to show you another picture, which is my favorite, and apparently this is of him as well.
He looked like that dude from Bridgerton, and I only saw like 3 episodes of that show because I can't get into it.
Right. So this is young Beethoven, apparently. Tell me that's not an afro.
I see one screen. I didn't see it change, but I see the afro.
You see this? I hope so. I hope it's working. Anyway, let's see.
It's still the
Yeah, it's still on the Pinterest.
Oh wait, I think I know what I got to do. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, let's try it this way. Let's try it this way. I think I got it. There he is.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yup, that's him. He got the John Shaft sideburns. That's a Negro.
So that's just another that's another, rendition of a young Beethoven. All I'm saying with that is you've got so much of a varying image that if you don't speak, if you don't acknowledge, if you don't constantly make sure the true image is there, it will change. And that's the importance of the BRU. That's the importance of Black rock music. Mm-hmm. That's the importance of Black history. If we don't maintain the proper image, it may not last.
Right.
Sorry for all that roundabout. That's what all that was meant to say.
No, that's amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
So yeah. Mm-hmm. So if anyone has any questions, it'd be a great time if you want to ask any questions. If not, I guess we'll end it.
Yep.
Right here.
There, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys can check us out on Facebook, YouTube, on Instagram, and we also have a TikTok. So that's 4 mediums.
And our own webpage, our own website.
And our website. So 5 mediums. We got the website, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
That's right.
So
you bring those 5 things together, you get a fist. That's right, baby. Keeping it real.
And with that one fist, you could strike a mighty blow.
That's right.
So yeah. So if no one has any questions, I guess we'll end it here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Nicole, Callie, and Lee Bishop for this lovely discussion. Also, shout out to Nate and Dallas Coyle.
Shout out to the other admins. And thank you, Kim, for moderating this. Thank you, Kim, for walking us through.
You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
And thank you to everybody that left a comment and stopped in. And for all the people in the future who are watching this, thank you for watching.
Oh, someone said, fantastic energy, you guys. African culture is alive and full of love and rock music. Thank you, Sepsis. She's an artist from London, and her bandmate is a Black rocker. So I checked out their Facebook page. So yeah.
Shout out to Lord Bishop.
Thank you.
Lord Bishop too.
Shout out to Lord Bishop.
Yes, shout out to everybody.
Yeah.
Shout out to every Black rocker contributing to this community and that's contributing to the art. You guys are fantastic, and we wouldn't be here without you. And just continue being awesome.
Big. Black rock now and forever.
Yeah,
all right. Peace, everybody.
Peace and hair grease.
We'll see you soon.
Oh, my keyboard player, guitarist, and myself has African. Oh, okay. Nice. Love you. They both had African heritage also. Oh, thank you. Sepsis. And they're from London.
Excellent.
Love y'all.
All right, everybody. Take care and stay tuned for the next roundtable. Keep posting. Keep loving each other and hang in there. We're going to get through all this madness right now, and everything is going to be gravy on the other side. So take care. Have a great week.
Oh, okay. She said, I'm going to correct myself. She said Manchester, New Hampshire, USA. I thought she meant Manchester, England. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought they was going to be like,
Don't nobody go to England. She's not going to be there. Don't go to England looking for her. She's not going to be there.
Oh, New England. No. Okay, I got you.
For New Hampshire, USA here. Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Take care.